going into this, I looked at ways, and I tried, because you're going to come out and you're going to say, oh, you just hate the Pacers because they beat the Knicks. First of all, yes. Secondly, doesn't matter because the Knicks are out. I looked for ways to think that the Pacers can win this series. Can't find them. And I think the only people that are picking the Pacers are saying, well, I want to say something different, and I don't believe it, but if I'm right, boy, I sound like a genius. I don't see how Indiana can even get – if they win more than a game against the Thunder, I will be surprised. Right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I said, listen, if you put the over-under for number of losses the rest of the NBA playoffs with the Oklahoma City Thunder at 2.5, this is going into the Western Conference Finals, I would take the under. Lost one game in the Western Conference Final. I can't see the Pacers even winning 2 games. I can't. The Oklahoma City's defense is so good. And you saw when the Knicks just tried to amp it up a little bit in Game 5 and for most of Game 1. They gave Halliburton all kinds of problems, right? The Pacers couldn't score. This is the Knicks, whose defense is not very good. They fired the head coach because their defense stinks. Oklahoma City's defense is phenomenal. And they're deep, and they're young, and they have a superstar that takes over every game. Not every 2 out of every 3 games like we see with Tyrese Halliburton, who still has that happen to him. Not as often as does with Anthony Edwards, right, but still Halliburton's maybe a 2 out of every 3 game guy, where maybe Edwards is every other game guy in the playoffs when he takes over. So defensively, I can't see the Pacers. I can't. They're not gonna hit threes like they did against the Knicks, because the Thunder aren't gonna leave them open on the wing for all these shots. Right? You're not gonna get great, incredible games. Game 1 where Siakam shoots the lights out, and Game 2 it's Nembhard, and Game 3 it's Nesmith. Like, that's not gonna happen. This is a completely different animal that the Pacers are gonna take on. And I mean, if it's not. I would say the Thunder in 4, but I don't want you to feel like I'm totally hating on the Pacers. Oh, you're just saying that because you hate the Pacers. A, yes. B, can they get a game? Sure, because I've seen the Thunder decide, hey, we need a breather game. Like, we've seen that in the playoffs. Like, we need a breather game, and we bring it back, and we win the next couple. So I could see 2-0, 3-0, the Pacers getting a game, and then the Thunder closing it out. So I'm going officially Thunder in 5.
Yeah, I'll give the extra 6 just as a cheat, but it's difficult. You look at the odds, and there has been some money on Indiana as things have gotten towards go time. It went from minus 750 at open. Now it's at minus 650. Still implies an 87% probability that the Thunder walk away with the series. The spread for Game 1 is 9.5. But Indiana, with the ability to get the runouts that they do, and the 3-point, like, it becomes the if, and now I'm building an algorithm with 47 if statements to get myself to that end line, right? This guy has to shoot well from outside. On the interior, can you get Chet Holmgren in foul trouble early so he sits? Because that's a huge detriment on both ends of the court. But I think it goes back to some of that SGA. I pencil him in for what I need, 28, 30, 32. And start pushing from there. A lot of what we've talked about throughout the Western Conference playoffs leading to this point. And for Indiana, Halliburton can have a passive game shooting, right? And they shoot the ball 20 times. But that implies that his teammates are taking care of their business and they're hitting shots with regularity. And unlike the Knicks, Thunder are going to close out on the edges.
Yeah.
Right? On the perimeter. They're long, they're quick, they get to the ball. You just watch the stark difference between, say, Cat at your 5 versus what Chet Holmgren does on the defensive end.
They'll go back to the huddle after the first quarter. Hey, wait, this is not how the last series went. Yeah, I know, right? They're better. They play
have to
defense
move a step
better.
faster.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, more because Coach, usually I'm usually okay, like, not touching the ball for the shot clock and then being wide open when I get the ball with 3 seconds left and hitting a 3. Yeah, not going to happen.
Just that Miles Turner shot. I forget which game it was, where he literally grabs the ball, he's in the corner, and he spins it how he wants it, and still gets the shot up before anybody comes to contest it.
Yeah.
Like, that's rec league playing horse. Okay.
He could actually gotten it and said, hey, I was in a great shooting spot, passed it back and said, give it back to me, and he still would have been that wide open.
Yeah, just amazing. But those angles get vaporized here. No. Both teams will get out and push pace, which I think is fun. Both teams with great depth. So there's some similarities that we can draw on and say, all right, this is how they compete and they fight with. Just, can they finish the job? And I don't think they can. I think it's an Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think it's a rout all the way through. I think we get a couple of thrillers, but in the end, they're too much.
The other part is this, and this is just how things go in the playoffs, is that the Pacers played as well as they possibly could. There is no room between their heads and the ceiling, all right? Like we talked about in that series. Halliburton had the game of his life 2 times in that series. Pascal Siakam had the game of his life 2 times in that series.
MVP,
right?
Pascal Siakam.
Nesmith had the game of his life in that series, right? You saw Mathurin had 2 games of his life where he scored 25 points in 4 minutes off the bench.
It's easy when you play the Knicks.
When you're not playing defense, it's easy. They played the best of their ability. They played to the top of their ceiling. They're going to get a bounce in this series against the Thunder, who honestly have not really played. They still have some room to get to. They've played really well, right? They played really well against the Minnesota Timberwolves, right? It took them, maybe as time goes on, we realized the Nuggets were better than we thought because they actually sent them to 7 games, even though it seemed like the Thunder were in control of that series all the way through. But the Thunder still has some room. I still don't think we've seen the absolute best they can play, but we have seen the best that the Pacers can, and they're not going to continue that against the Thunder in the series. They're just not. And I feel like I'm being nice, not picking a sweep.
Did they play the John Halliburton card too early? 877-99.
Yeah, maybe.
Or is that
they
a
did.
poll question? I don't know.
Well, they really wanted to beat the Knicks.
I know it was imperative.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you got to use what's at your disposal for each hurdle. So I don't know what they have left in the tank.
Well, that's the thing.
What's the next surprise?
Like
Caitlin Clark comes out and shoots some jumpers for him.
Well, she's already on the sideline making Brunson faces while the game's going on. But just think about it. Like, okay, if the Knicks beating the Celtics was, that was our big accomplishment. Like the Pacers beating the Knicks again, that's their big accomplishment, right? I mean, I'd love to see. I'd love to be wrong.
I'd say that if they hadn't done it last year.
I'd love to. Well, that's because everybody got hurt last year. I threw out the window. This year again, that loss is just. But I'd love to see it because I'd love to see a competitive NBA. I'd love to see it. Unless you see some sort of crazy look at this foul discrepancy and look at who's not getting to the free throw line. Boy, SGA has been to the free throw line in 3 games. Unless you see something like that, I'm being nice by not picking a sweep.